Alright, in this video we are going to continue to talk about some useful op-amp circuits, but before I do that I want to mention something that I should have mentioned in the intro op-amp video and forgot. So we have this circuit symbol for op-amps that shows 5 connections, usually only 3 of which are drawn. Our 2 input voltages and then our supply voltages and the output voltage. And unlike other parts you have probably seen so far, if you are working in an electronics lab in a college course, for example, resistors, where the symbol looks like that, and then the physical resistor is this little kind of semi-cylindrical thing that also has 2 wires, or a capacitor where the symbol is like that, and then the actual capacitor in the lab may be a little ceramic capacitor that looks like this and also has 2 wires. Op-amps are going to come in an integrated circuit package. So it's going to be this little chip with wires or leads sticking out of the side that fit into a breadboard. And the integrated circuit, the order of the pins does not necessarily match the order of the pins on the schematic symbol. So you always need to look up the data sheet and look at the pinout, so see actually which pins are the inputs, which pin is the output, which pins are the power supply, and so on, and not just kind of assume that this diagram represents what you would physically put in a breadboard. So again, forgot to mention that in the initial op-amp video, should have put it there. That is a little aside. The main topic of this video, I'm actually going to start with a clean slide here, is, okay, what happens when we actually start hooking up some more external parts to an op-amp, and how can we do some of the things I mentioned in the initial video. So we're going to have our op-amp here, Vout, with a bunch of stuff connected. That's just going to take me a second to draw, and then we're going to go ahead and analyze this circuit. So we have a load resistor RL. Our non-inverting input is connected to ground. We have a feedback resistor RF connected from the output back to the inverting input. And then we have a source resistor RS that is not the internal source resistance of the source connected to an ideal voltage source Vs. And our question is, okay, well, what is Vout in this configuration? And to analyze this circuit, we can apply all the same physical laws we know apply to other circuits, like Ohm's law, because we have resistors. It does not apply to the op-amp itself, but it applies to the resistors in this circuit, and Kirchhoff's current law and Kirchhoff's voltage law, which are still going to apply. So I'm going to go through and mark my passive sign convention for the resistors, because it's going to be important not to lose track of signs here. And I'm also going to go through and mark known voltages. So I see that my non-inverting input V plus is tied to ground, so that's going to be 0 volts. And then I know that my ideal op-amp assumptions say the 2 input voltages are equal, so my inverting input voltage V minus is also going to be 0 volts. Okay? I am now going to look at my resistors and apply Ohm's law to them and see if I can kind of figure out an equation for Vout. So actually I lied. Before I do that, I'm going to pick a different color and look at my currents. Remember that on an op-amp, your ideal op-amp assumptions, say your input currents are 0. So if I look at this node here, I know the current coming that way out of the node is going to be 0. So I have the current, call it IS, coming through this resistor. That's going into the node down there, getting a little crowded. And the current IF coming out of that node up into this resistor. Again, those 2 currents are both positive based on my sign conventions for the resistors. So I know that IS equals IF by applying KCL at that node, again, because the current coming out of the 3rd wire there is 0. So if I apply Ohm's law to my resistor RS, I have the voltage drop across that resistor, which is going to be Vs here minus 0, so that's just Vs equals Is times Rs. I can also apply Ohm's law to this resistor here, but this is where I need to be careful about my signs. So for that resistor, I'm going to have 0, which is the voltages on what I have labeled as the positive side of that resistor, minus the voltage on the other side, which is Vout. That is going to be equal to the current through that resistor, which is IF, times RF. Okay, so that's just saying negative V out equals IF RF. But remember that these two currents are equal from applying Kirchhoff's current law at that node. So I can rewrite both of these equations first as IS equals Vs over Rs, and this one as IF equals negative V out over RF. I can set those equal to each other. So Vs, so I know that Is equals IF, which is like saying Vs over Rs equals negative V out over RF. And if I rearrange everything to solve for V out, then I get V out equals negative RF over Rs times Vs. So I am inverting the input voltage. I have the minus sign there, but through choice of the feedback and source resistors, I can also amplify that voltage. Again, this is the difference between the active circuit with an op-amp that has external power and a voltage divider, which we saw previously, that can only divide the voltage. Here, I could divide the voltage if I want to, if I picked RF to be smaller than RS. But for example, if I chose RF to be twice as big as RS, then I am going to double the voltage. So since it both amplifies and inverts the voltage, this circuit is called an inverting amplifier. Next up, we are going to have another circuit where we are going to draw things a little differently, but you can probably guess, since our last circuit was called an inverting amplifier, where this might be headed. So we have our voltage source connected to the non-inverting input this time. And if we look back at the last one, it was connected through a resistor to the inverting input. And we are going to have a resistor, just R, to ground coming from the inverting input. Again, we're going to have our feedback resistor RF coming from the output back to the inverting input, and we have a load resistor RL. So great. What is V out? And again, since the last one was an inverting input, you can probably guess where this is going. So we're going to mark our sign convention on our resistors. This time I'm going to pick plus, minus like that. You can, remember, choose your passive sign convention either way for your resistors. As long as you are consistent, you should get the same answer. So I'm going to have current I going that way, then going through R to ground, where this current, both of those input currents are going to be 0. And marking voltages that I know, I'm going to choose a different color for that. I know my voltage here is going to be Vs, and due to my ideal op-amp assumptions, then my voltage at this node is also going to be Vs. So there's everything I know just based on my op-amp assumptions and marking sign conventions for my resistors. I again know from applying KCL at this node, where this current into the input is going to be 0, that these two currents have to be equal. And I can again apply Ohm's law to each of my two resistors. So if I just apply Ohm's law to resistor R, then I have Vs minus 0 because the other end is connected to ground equals IR. And if I apply Ohm's law to RF, I have V out minus Vs. So I'm going to be careful with your sign conventions and drops over resistors. So V out here on what I've labeled the positive side, minus Vs on what I've labeled the negative side, equals I times RF. And I can rearrange these to solve for I. So I equals Vs over R, and I equals V out minus Vs over RF. I know these two currents are equal, so I set those equal to each other. I have Vs over R equals V out minus Vs over RF. And then if I do some algebra and shuffle things around, I will get V out equals 1 plus RF over R times Vs. So again, I skipped some algebra steps there, but you can work this out if you want to. So Vs times RF, if I cross multiply, equals R times V out minus Vs, distribute the R, yada yada. I'm going to be lazy and not do the algebra, but trust me, you can work it out yourself if you want. Do that, and you will get this equation for, in this case, we don't have a negative sign, so we are not flipping the voltage. We are keeping the same side as the input for our non-inverting amplifier. So unlike the inverting amplifier, where I could, if I wanted to, make this fraction less than 1 to actually decrease the voltage, here, since I have the 1 plus, even if I pick a value of RF equals 0, then I've essentially just made a buffer or a follower, which we covered in the previous video, but I can only increase Vs, so I can't decrease it here, and I am not flipping the sign, so again, it's called a non-inverting amplifier as opposed to an inverting amplifier. So two different configurations that you have to be careful not to get mixed up because they are very similar. They both have two external resistors, but which input the source is connected to and which input the is connected to ground, either directly or through a resistor, is a little different. So if you see one of those diagrams and you don't have them memorized, just be careful, go look up which is which. And again, two different equations, both of which allow us to amplify a voltage, but one of them flips the sign. So again, I'm going to break these op-amp circuits up into multiple videos because there are so many of them. So that's it for this one. And to be honest, I forget off the top of my head what we're going to be covering in the next few, but check out the next one to see some more useful applications of op-amps.